true happiness is not out there. True happiness lies within. And this phrase had a ring of truth to it for me. But the phrase doesn't say where the within is. When you transcend, you experience, what the quantum physicists call the unified field, non-relative absolute. You leave the field of relativity and you experience non-relative absolute, ocean of pure consciousness, ocean of being, Atma, meaning the self of all that is. You experience that.
Is it possible that many everyday failures, conflicts, and imbalances are the result of a kind of primordial vibration that runs through all existence? Ancient texts, such as those from Kashmir Shaivism, mention Spanda, a pulse that would permeate everything, while quantum physics research reveals deep connections among particles. These ideas reinforce the concept that everything is vibration, although the topic often remains hidden in more common interpretations. Experiments involving meditation, sound frequencies, and subatomic phenomena hint at something beyond what traditional science usually acknowledges. At the same time, esoteric traditions, like the Kabbalistic teachings, argue that the human body and the cosmos are in sync. Some go so far as to say that the spine serves as a cosmic tuning fork. This raises the question, what if salvation or awakening depended more on internal alignment than on external dogmas? In our daily lives, there are examples of how the manipulation of frequencies can trap us in draining routines and limiting patterns. Even so, there are already schools and clinics using sounds, mantras, and quantum methods to fight stress and encourage creativity. In other words, there are ways to escape this maze of mismatched vibrations if we find the right keys. This video will present concrete clues, historical facts, and practical techniques to show that vibration is not just a mystical concept, but the foundation that upholds reality itself. Anyone who follows the explanation to the end will see that true change begins in the consciousness of each individual. And here is a warning: everything that has been concealed can surface and completely change the way we live in the world. Who would have thought that the most fundamental laws of existence could be translated into simple patterns of sound and vibration? Even though this idea might seem to challenge traditional logic, it suggests a deeper truth than many might suspect. What is proposed here does not upset only mechanistic science, but also the way many religions and cultures view the world. Rather than insulting common sense, it becomes an invitation to cross boundaries among quantum physics, esoteric traditions, and unconventional therapies. A long time ago, spiritual masters and philosophers from various regions spoke of a universal resonance. In Kashmir Shaivism, for example, there is the notion of Spanda, a fundamental tremor running through everything. Meanwhile, physicists like Niels Bohr and David Bohm mentioned invisible connections among particles, something Bohm referred to as the hidden order. This apparent harmony between ancient knowledge and modern findings raises the possibility that reality may vibrate like the strings of a giant cosmic instrument. For some critics, this goes against the core of the scientific method. The tension arises when we notice that, although science creates many technologies, it does not always reflect on the philosophical implications of its discoveries. Albert Einstein emphasized that imagination is more important than knowledge, which implies that there are deeper elements that can slip through laboratory methods. Interestingly, many accept the innovations generated by quantum physics, like lasers, but avoid thinking about the larger implications of those same theories. It is worth remembering that contemplative practices, meditations, prayers, mantras, and rituals have defended for centuries the idea that a vibrational field connects everything. Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and other esoteric systems suggest that the mind and intention can alter reality itself. Modern science, with its research into sound frequencies and stress reduction, hints that there is room for dialogue between ancient views and newer approaches. In short, this first chapter invites us to wonder whether the essence of the universe goes beyond a materialistic perspective. Instead of relying solely on standard logic, we are encouraged to look more broadly at challenging ways of understanding reality with this new vibrational paradigm. In the end, each person can decide whether salvation or awakening is more tied to an inner experience than merely to external beliefs. There is evidence that ancient civilizations, such as those of Mesopotamia and Egypt, used sounds in sacred and therapeutic ways. In the Middle Ages, Christian mystics and Hermetic currents wrote about vibrational laws that govern the cosmos. In some Kabbalistic texts, the Hebrew alphabet is associated with certain frequencies, while Sufi manuscripts highlight the power of divine names, each with a specific sound capable of changing the mental and emotional state of the practitioner. Many people ignore these historical references, but when so many traditions converge on the same idea, one cannot dismiss the possibility that current science is moving in a similar direction. The statement that everything is vibration gained traction when quantum physics broke with Newtonian thinking. Until the start of the 20th century, the universe was believed to be mechanical and predictable. However, scientists like Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg showed that, at the subatomic level, particles exhibit wave-like and probabilistic features. Uncertainty is part of matter, indicating that the world is more dynamic than originally thought. Thus, imagining that we live in a vast field of frequencies no longer seems far-fetched. To illustrate the clash between the traditional and the innovative perspective, there is a quotation often attributed to Einstein. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Although he did not directly speak of vibration, the idea that time is not fixed aligns with a more flexible universe. In that sense, science could be rediscovering something that esoteric schools have always maintained. For instance, followers of Hermeticism believe that universal laws act on multiple levels, from the physical to the mental, and that the most subtle vibrations are the source of everything. While mechanistic science once downplayed these points, quantum physics, even without fully endorsing them, leaves room for this type of reasoning. We can also point to the conversations between physicist David Bohm and philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti. Bohm spoke of an implicate order, as if all reality has very deep layers. Krishnamurti, in turn, believed that self-discovery could lead to a direct perception of this totality. Recognizing such unity would mean accepting that each person emits mental and emotional vibrations that affect the whole, a point that divides opinions, but still intrigues those who study it. Of course, there are scientists who reject these comparisons, arguing that quantum phenomena do not require mystical terminology. They say quantum physics can be used for practical innovations without mixing in religion or philosophy. At the same time, some religious groups also avoid the word quantum in their sermons for fear their teachings will be trivialized. The main question, then, is whether it is possible to unite rigorous scientific analysis with a more expansive view of reality. The answer lies in the idea that human consciousness is also part of a vibrational field. If matter at the subatomic scale behaves like a wave, it is reasonable to suppose that the mind, or mental energy, could align with or influence this field. Esoteric books like the Corpus Hermeticum talk about everything vibrates, everything moves. Recent meditation research indicates that certain brainwave frequencies might affect a collective mental state, although there is no absolute consensus on these results. This scenario opens up the possibility that many ancient spiritual practices could find some backing in modern studies on sound, mantras, and meditation. In various schools and clinics, techniques that involve frequencies are already being tested to reduce stress and boost creativity, a revival of old knowledge now examined by more precise technological tools. In the end, the vibrational field can serve as both a unifying and a dividing point. Some see it as a new way of explaining reality, while others remain skeptical, fearing it leads to speculation without proof. Future chapters will present real examples and experiences that shed more light on how observers and the world interact in a system of constant exchanges. And if reality is that flexible, each individual, with their choices and vibrations, might be shaping or limiting their own life experience. The idea that each person holds within themselves a version of the cosmos is not new. Eastern perspectives say the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, while in the West, the famous phrase, "as above, so below," sums up the same concept. If everything is vibration, this principle grows even stronger. The spine, for instance, could be seen as a set of musical notes resonating with the universal scale. Although it might sound merely symbolic, it aligns with spiritual practices that identify energy centers, the chakras, along the body, each linked to a specific frequency. An ancient Kashmir Shaivism text says, "The primordial tremor arises in every part of the body, for there is no place where the absolute energy does not vibrate." This viewpoint dissolves the boundary between the divine and the human, suggesting that everything we see as external, other people, objects, natural phenomena, is part of the same pulse. Normally, we believe each person is separate and subject to outside forces. Shaivism's doctrine of Spanda, however, posits a unity that unsettles those who hold a more rigid worldview. One may ask how this connects with quantum theory, which does not talk about gods or supreme beings. Likewise, some believe it is all just a spiritual metaphor. Yet some scholars see parallels. Both quantum physics and Kashmir Shaivism suggest there is no definitive barrier between observer and observed. According to David Bohm, there exists an implicate order in nature, something not easily seen, but which links everything together. In theory, this reasoning fits with an understanding of vibration as ever-present. Kabbalah also presents the Tree of Life as a map of how divine energy manifests at different levels, from physical to spiritual. Each sephira could be interpreted as a vibrational stage, which resembles the idea of contraction or the descent of divine energy mentioned in Eastern philosophies. Even though the specific words differ, the concept of a hierarchy of vibrations appears again and again. Additionally, there are those who report meditative experiences of oneness with all things. Previously dismissed as fantasies, these accounts are drawing the interest of neuroscientists who measure changes in brainwave patterns in these states of consciousness. It is still too early for final conclusions, but the recorded changes in the brain's electrical patterns indicate that the sense of non-separation could have some biological basis. This leaves open the idea that salvation or awakening may come from tuning into this primordial vibration, rather than relying on any specific religious institutions. If everything vibrates, then each of us would naturally have the capacity to harmonize with the whole. The notion that the universe has a vibrational foundation does not stay only in the philosophical or meditative realm. At various points in history, discoveries about vibration or the quantum world have had major repercussions, both positive and negative. One striking example is the Manhattan Project, led by Robert Oppenheimer, which used research on subatomic energy to develop the atomic bomb. That was an extreme application of quantum knowledge, resulting in devastating effects. This situation shows that what some call mysterious or esoteric can have very tangible consequences. On the other hand, there are more constructive stories that connect science and spirituality. In more recent times, researchers have been studying how specific sounds and mantras can reduce stress and anxiety in schools and hospitals. Herbert Benson, for example, introduced the concept of the relaxation response when examining how repeating sounds and focusing the mind affects the body's physiology, lowering cortisol levels. Even though he did not speak of vibration in a mystical way, his findings support the idea that certain sounds and mental states produce profound effects on health. There are also experiments in classrooms where classical music, meditative chants, or mantras are used to calm students and help them focus. In community centers, combining guided meditation with specific sound frequencies has produced positive results for at-risk populations. These are like natural experiments that highlight the potential of vibration-based approaches. Traditionally, education and therapy focus on content or caregiving techniques, but a vibrational outlook focuses on the harmony of the entire setting, including group intention and sound frequency. When it comes to scientific validation, some studies show how different brainwave states, beta, alpha, theta, delta, can align with external stimuli, such as rhythmic beats or music. The question arises, how far can this synchronization improve learning and mood, or even aid in healing illnesses? Slowly, behavioral neuroscience is tackling these issues, opening up a new field of exploration. Of course, some critics see exaggerations in the everyday use of the word vibration, saying it is often used without scientific backing. They rightfully call for more thorough, reproducible research on quantum or holistic healing methods. Yet the existence of doubts does not invalidate the possibility that the vibrational paradigm could reshape our approach to health, education, and society. Faced with these facts, the gap between mysticism and science appears smaller than previously believed. More and more research teams and therapists take vibration as a legitimate area of study. It is up to each observer to think about whether the universe functions like a grand symphony of frequencies in which we can create harmony or produce discord. If that is the case, then there is room to consider how to choose higher resonances to improve life in many ways. The idea that we are all immersed in an ocean of vibrations underlines the individual responsibility each person holds in building a more harmonious world. If everything is interconnected, thoughts and emotions are not just internal matters, but signals that spread through the environment. Thus, personal transformation would come before collective changes, contrary to common beliefs that usually blame external factors. There is an interesting parallel between ancient offering rituals and modern practices of self-awareness. In many ancient civilizations, people believed that failing to perform prayers or mantras would lead to cosmic imbalance and cause societal problems. Today, many interpret such offerings as positive states of consciousness, such as compassion and empathy, that can influence our surroundings in a similar way. The symbols have changed, but the idea of constant exchange between the individual and the whole remains. In therapy, several techniques labeled quantum, like mental reprogramming, quantum family constellation, and the use of sound frequencies, spark a lot of debate. Some demand more scientific evidence to validate rapid healing claims, while others argue that science has yet to develop the proper methods to assess these phenomena. The central issue seems to be how far to include the vibrational dimension in treatment. Some people say they experience profound benefits, which cannot be dismissed outright as a placebo. However, serious studies are needed to gain broader acceptance of these methods. Some research shows that students exposed to calmer environments with suitable music and meditation practices have greater concentration and well-being in schools. This cannot be attributed solely to vibration. Still, the vibrational perspective offers an explanation that values elements not typically seen, such as the energetic vibe of the place or the shared intention of the group. While traditional education sticks to course material, the vibrational view reminds us that there are other factors at play. Ultimately, each of us is invited to consider how our own mental and emotional vibration affects our surroundings. If there is a cosmic chorus, the name of the music is not the main issue. What really matters is how each individual stays in tune or goes out of tune with their part. From that viewpoint, one's inner stance becomes a powerful tool, even if it acts subtly. And here is the question: how many people are ready to accept and use that potential? Taking everything discussed into account, the suggestion that the universe is built on vibrations, whether quantum, spiritual, or mental, runs contrary to both traditional science and many organized religions. Ultimately, the controversy lies in how each person interprets their role in reality. On the one hand, more conventional groups say people should conform to external laws and doctrines. On the other hand, the view that everything is vibration emphasizes that each person actively participates in creating their own experience, because the key to awakening would lie within each being. From the previous chapters, it is clear that salvation does not rely solely on religious leaders or scientific theories. Rather, it involves an inner process of aligning oneself with positive frequencies. This idea, once seen as heretical, is now echoed in studies about meditation, neuroscience, and physics. As a result, bridges are forming between ancient rituals, such as mantras and prayers, and modern brainwave research, while quantum concepts are revisited in the light of Eastern and Hermetic philosophies. The next question is how to bring this vibrational viewpoint into practice. It does not mean discarding traditional teaching or healing methods, but adding the insight that consciousness is central to everything. Schools, clinics, and communities might try techniques promoting self-knowledge and inner balance using sounds, colors, and group intention. Even so, the final choice belongs to each one of us, to tune in or not to this cosmic music. It is worth emphasizing that all real change begins when the individual sees themselves as a co-creator of reality. If the universe vibrates and the mind emits its own frequency, it takes practice and alertness to align with higher vibrations. Many traditions claim that meditation is a powerful path to that goal. Nowadays, there are audio resources designed to aid anyone seeking these deeper states of consciousness. To learn more about these materials and get immediate access, simply click the link shown on the screen or in the comments. If the content shared here made sense, please leave the phrase "It made sense to me" in the comments.